Kits I'm afraid to start.
Hey, welcome to Dan's Model Works. This is the first of a series you'll see occasionally, if there's enough interest that is, that I'm calling Kits I'm Afraid to Start. Now, before anyone starts offering to take any of these kits off my hands, I do want to build these models, and using the word afraid, well, that sounds a little more dramatic than reluctant. I think most modelers who have a stash of kits of any size probably has at least one, maybe 10 kits, that for some reason they are afraid or reluctant to start. What could those reasons be? Let's see. The kit could be out of your comfort zone, maybe a subject you've never tackled before. The kit could involve a process you hate, such as lots of masking, bare metal foiling, or maybe covering the model with Aztecing decals. The kit or project may require a missing ingredient, such as a figure or a companion model. The kit might be serving as the basis of a kit bash, and you haven't figured out how you're going to make the changes or scratch build the parts. Maybe the kit has some deficiency or flaw that you want to correct, and you haven't come up with a solution yet. The kit or project may be so big that you're afraid it will take too much time, or you'll feel that you're overwhelmed. Is this a kit you're saving for retirement? I'm sure there are many reasons I've missed, but let's take a look at this kit and see why I want to build it and what's holding me back. The desire to build the BV-141 comes from having completed this kit, which is the Focke-Wulf 189. Now, this was the Luftwaffe's primary reconnaissance plane from the Second World War. And by all rights, it should have lost the design competition. And the reason it should have lost the design competition was the specifications specifically said that the airplane should only have one engine. However, Focke-Wulf figured that there was no way they were going to be able to meet the specifications with only one engine. So they basically ignored that part of the specification and designed the Focke-Wulf 189. It won the competition and went on to be built in many numbers, and it was a great success. However, the Blohm + Voss company decided to respect the specification and build a plane with only one engine. And that is how the rather unusual subject of this video came about. So this is the 1/48 scale kit of the Blohm + Voss BV-141B, and it was brought out by Historic Plastic Models out of the Czech Republic, and probably is only available on the second-hand market now. I'm not even sure if this company is still in business. At any rate, before I'd even completed my Focke-Wulf 189, I thought, geez, it wouldn't be nice to have the main competitor for it, even though it was only built in small numbers, that I could display alongside of it. And, well, this was available. So let's just take a look at the box here. Now, this has been a little bit water damaged in a flood in my basement. On the side here, we have a couple pictures of the built-up model, and we have a history. On the other side, we have a picture of some of the parts. You can see there's the decal sheet, and there's an etched metal fret, and then what we have here is the fuselage nacelle, and it's all in clear plastic. There's nothing on the bottom. So let's look at the contents and see what we have here. Now, I have had this kit open a number of times, so it's not exactly packed the way it came from the factory, but it's close. Everything was all bagged up separately. This is just a list of some of the kits that they import. And here are the instructions. We'll take a quick look at those of you who are interested. And in this plastic bag here, we have the decals. And as per the custom in a lot of European countries, the swastika is in pieces. And that's to respect a lot of laws in Europe that say you're not allowed to sell anything which bears the image of the swastika. And there is our etched metal fret. We'll look at that too in a moment. And then we have a bag of goodies here. And we'll look at those. And I've already removed some parts from this clear sprue. Let's take a look at these instructions. Like most kits, there's a potted history on the front, and then of course we have the legal warning on the bottom, don't eat the parts. And then we have another language here. We've got some various colors they're saying you can use, and we've got sprue maps showing you what parts you should have. And we start off with the fuselage, the cockpit. You can see all that goes together kind of on a sled, and then it gets mounted inside the fuselage itself. And then they gave you an overview of how everything should be positioned inside there. And then you start to assemble the wings, and then the main fuselage. Really, I should have said fuselage earlier and referred to the other part as the crew nacelle. And then here is a view showing you what angle everything should be at, and this is when you start to appreciate what a strange looking aircraft this is, because of course you've got your engine here, and then you've got your cockpit kind of shoved off to the side, and nothing is symmetrical. I'm just trying to imagine how difficult it was to design this plane back in the time when they didn't have computers. This all would have been figured out via slide rules. So we've got the landing gear, which looks quite complex. We've got the engine, which is a single radial. And then the final details going on. And then we've got some painting guides here. And then the marking guides there. And once again, as you look at the overview, this is one of these airplanes that certainly goes against the rule. If it looks right, it'll fly right. This does not look like it'll fly right at all. But oddly enough, it did. So let's meet the parts. The first goodie we have here is an etched metal fret. And right here you can see that is the instrument panel, and they also give you this negative, this acetate that actually has the instruments printed on there. And if you've never used this before, this goes behind the instrument panel in order to give you a good representation of all the various dials and things. Now I've removed some parts from this clear sprue, but you can see we've got some windows here and a circular hatch here. This sprue has our propeller on it and the main landing gear wheels. You can see there's the landing gear legs, spinner for the propeller, and probably most of the rest of this is interior fittings for the cockpit. This sprue, this is the bottom of the crew nacelle, I believe, and this is the tail, and this is actually where your vertical stabilizer goes here. So most of your horizontal stabilizer is all to one side. And this is the bottom, or I should say the floor, of the crew nacelle. Now this sprue did have the two main fuselage halves on it, and it has the front of the engine cowling and the engine cowling here, and that looks like the engine mount. Next is our two fuselage halves, and they go together quite well. I've already test fit them. They line up nicely. And of course, you don't have any holes for the pilot to be sticking his head up or anything, because the crew don't inhabit this section of the aircraft. Next we have the wings, top and bottom. And once again, they're pretty much asymmetrical. You got more of the wing on one side than the other. This is one of the seats, probably the pilot's. And then we have two more parts. And here are two remaining parts. This is the crew nacelle. And both sides are molded in clear plastic. And they go together like that. And this is where we come into the reason I'm reluctant to start this kit. So if you haven't already figured it out, this kit is going to require an obscene amount of masking. There are over 70 windows on this crew nacelle. And the lines that tell you where they are very, very faint. You can see them, but putting a piece of masking tape on here and then cutting them to shape is going to be a challenge. So basically what you've got to do with this is you build your floor and put all your details and everything on that floor. Then you trap that between your two fuselage sides here. Then you've pretty much got to mask all of your windows and everything. Then you can finally build the rest of your kit. And the crew nacelle, what you'd want to do is you'd want to hit that with whatever sort of gray you're going to be using for your interior of your plane, whatever your favorite color for the inside of German aircraft are. First, you've got to paint it that color, and then you can turn around and you can paint the rest of the airplane, including the nacelle, the rest of your favorite German colors. But you still can't take your masking tape off. Once you've got it painted, then you got to put your favorite gloss coat on. Then you've got to do your decals. Then you got to turn around and do whatever sort of weathering and your dull coat on there. And then finally, you're going to be able to take your masking tape off. So your masking tape might be on this model for quite some time. So before you start it, you want to make sure that you're not going to lose interest in the project, or you're not going to be really busy or anything like that. Because obviously you don't want to put the masking tape on and have it sit there for months. What you want is to know that, okay, the masking tape's going to be on here for maybe 2.5, 3 weeks tops. So I want to make sure that I've got the time to do the kit start to finish without it dragging on forever. And not only that, I hate cutting masking. I forget how many windows there were on the Focke-Wulf 189, but there was too many, and over 70. Ugh. So I really do want to build this. I think it would be cool to have it sitting next to the Focke-Wulf, but I've really got to be motivated before I start this one. One point of interest is how much the crew nacelles between these planes look alike. Now, they're not identical by any means, but the layout is basically the same. And other than the fact that this has a flat plane in the middle, and this one comes to a point, they're very, very similar. And the thing is Focke-Wulf mounted their nacelle by using 2 engines, and Blohm + Voss was going to mount theirs by building the whole plane asymmetrically using a single engine. Interesting how 2 different companies came up with quite a different solution to the problem. So that's our first of our kits that I'm afraid to start. And just every time I have this open, I want to start working on it. But it's just before I start it, I want to know that I'm going to be able to finish it within a reasonable amount of time. Because I don't want to be trying to pull off masking tape and, leaving a bunch of glue behind and that sort of thing. So it's kind of one of these schedule things. I need to know that my schedule is going to be okay and that I'm in the right frame of mind to start it and finish it. So, thanks for watching Dan's Model Works, and until next time, keep on modeling.